It's not often that I make a rant regarding something going on in my personal life. I know I've made plenty of videos just discussing things that have been bothering me in my personal life, but I don't really make rants about that all too much. And well, this is going to be one of those videos, a rant regarding something that is really bothering me right now, and same with the people who live with me. This is about my uncle. I made a video about him a few years ago. I live with two uncles. One I'm close to, and one I have no issue with whatsoever, and the other is really getting on me and my family's nerves right now. This all started back in early 2017. My uncle had he I don't exactly know what happened, but he ate some food that got him really sick, and then it was to the point where he actually had to go to the doctor for this. And this is a breakthrough because prior to 2017, he hasn't gone to a fucking doctor in like 20 years or something like that. He was always the type to not believe in doctors. So basically, this is the first time in my lifetime, and I was like 15 at that point, that he actually went to a fucking doctor. Can you believe that? But anyways, the doctor found other issues with him. He was diabetic, and he really needed to watch his weight. And he was put on medication, and all the sorts. The usual process one would go through when they're diagnosed with diabetes. And this started the downfall. Prior to this, we had no idea that he suffered from really bad anxiety, but he does. And we found out because one night he was having a really bad panic attack that he mistook as a heart attack. And then he called the ambulance. The ambulance came and they took him to the hospital. And it turned out he was A-okay. It was just a really bad panic attack he was having. And then I think he was prescribed anxiety medication. He started going to a therapist for a little while. But still, regardless, he would have these panic attacks, completely fucking freak out, call the ambulance, and the ambulance would constantly come. This happened on almost like a weekly fucking basis at this point in early 2017 when he first got diagnosed. And it was really a struggle, because especially for my grandmother, because he would always fucking tell her, "Oh, I want you to come to the hospital with me. I can't go alone," like he's a fucking little boy. And look, I get it. I have anxiety problems too. I'm not gonna completely throw him under the bus for that, because obviously I can relate, but still, goddamn, making this big stink over your panic attacks is not going to help for shit, because that's only going to probably escalate your problems even more. And what the fuck is the ambulance going to do for a fucking panic attack? I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. At this point, he knew he was having panic attacks, but he would still call the ambulance out of panic anyway. And the ambulance would come, and it would be fucking embarrassing for me and my family, because neighbors would fucking notice us. I live in a cul-de-sac, so it was pretty easy for the lights to travel in all the windows of all the neighbors' windows, and all the neighbors to fucking notice the ambulance there. And people would ask us, why the fuck is the ambulance coming to your house so often? Is there something wrong with your mom or anything we could do about it? And my family would have trouble answering them, would have trouble telling them what is going on, because they're pretty embarrassed by all this, and they don't want to say, well, our 50-something-year-old brother, he has severe anxiety, and he can't handle panic attacks, so he calls the ambulance all the time. If they were asking me, I would probably just tell them straight up, because I don't really feel embarrassed over that, but they do. And during this period of time, he took some time off from work. He was home for like 2 weeks straight, and for like legit the whole day he would sit on the couch, watch TV, and kind of just scold us, because during this period he was really fucking pissy. Like he would like go off on us for the littlest shit. Or like, I remember when my mom was talking to some family members who live away on the phone. She was talking about something that had nothing to do with him, but then he like completely snapped at her and said, "I don't want you talking about that. Don't talk about that with them." When in reality, I forget exactly what it was she was talking about, but it was something innocent, not anything bad at all. But he still just kind of snapped and scolded her, and then my mom had to hang up the phone, and then they got into a heated argument. So yeah, it wasn't pleasant having him around 24/7 like that for that brief period of time, because usually he works until really late at night, so he's practically invisible most of the time. Even on the weekends, he disappears to God knows where, probably fucking one of his many girlfriends he has. Or he hooks up with a bunch of girls on Tinder or whatever the fuck, I don't know. But anyways, it's usually nice having him gone because usually he causes a lot of these problems for us. So, you know what, the less we have to deal with him, the better. But eventually this all calmed down. He was taking his anxiety medication on a regular basis, finally, because he, for whatever reason, he thought he was too good for anxiety meds, and then he would, not take them, and then eventually he would have these panic attacks again, and then call the ambulance because, because supposedly going to having a panic attack warrants going to the emergency room. But eventually this all subsided. I mean, sometimes, like once in a blue moon, he would do this, but it would be rare, and he would get right back on his anxiety meds, and he was going good for a while. He was going to therapy regularly. He was going to the gym too, because exercise is a good relief for anxiety. But recently, the nearby gym kind of sort of closed down, so yeah, I can't really do that. And now we don't have another gym that's nearby us like the one that closed down was. 2018, for the most part, and most of 2019 up until what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, has mostly been calm when it comes to him and his problems. I mean, again, his anxiety was under control. His diabetes was also under control. He was taking diabetes medication and such. And, he was alright. Until a few weeks ago, this whole fucking anxiety shit has arisen again. I don't know why. I think it's because he's probably not taking his medication as much as he should. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But he's been calling the ambulance a lot, and he's been bothering my grandmother too. Like fucking hell. Sometimes in like the middle of the fucking night, like in 3, 4, or 5 in the morning, he has his panic attacks. He calls the ambulance, and then he wakes up my fucking grandma, who has arthritis, by the way. She can't walk very well, let alone climb into a fucking ambulance with them. Anyway, he wakes her up, and also she's been having problems of her own. She has a really bad coughing problem, and she had a little scare recently. We thought something was going on with her heart, but she's all right, thank God. So despite all that, despite him knowing that she has all these problems and it's best that she should rest, he wakes her up in the middle of the fucking night, and he was like, "Oh, you gotta come to the hospital with me. You gotta go into the ambulance with me." And most of the fucking time, the ambulance comes, they examine him for a little bit, and they find out, "Oh, you just had a panic attack. It's nothing to worry about. Just keep taking your anxiety medication or whatever the fuck else you need to take to get yourself under control, and everything will be fine. You don't need to go to the hospital. It's all fine." And he fucking bothers her all for nothing. And sometimes I hear the ambulance, the EMTs laughing and joking around with him. That's when I know they're not gonna take him to the hospital, when they get all, jokey and such. That's what pretty much all the EMTs who have come to the house to examine him have done after a little bit of examining with him. And a lot of the times I don't even know this is going on because I'm usually asleep when this all goes down. A couple of times it happened on a school night where I was deep asleep and I had no clue any of this was going on. And I'm usually told in the morning or when I get home from college that, "Oh yeah, your uncle called the ambulance last night, and the ambulance told him he was fine, so he called the ambulance for fucking nothing." And I'm like, "Oh, what else is new?" But the catalyst for me making this video and just letting all this frustration out after it building up inside of me for the past few weeks, because he's already done this, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in September. But last night, it was the 5th time, and he actually did go to the hospital this time. And you might be saying, "Oh, well, it must have been serious this time around if he actually went to the hospital." Well, no, he went to the hospital, and then they told him the same exact fucking thing. He is fine. He just needs to take his anxiety medication and he'll be fine. It's all in his head. Nothing is going on, so he shouldn't panic all too much over something that's not an issue whatsoever. So yeah, and also to put the icing on the cake, he forced my grandma to go with him. Again, my grandma, who has arthritis, who, needs to rest more. We literally have a family member who is living with us right now until December when she goes back to where she came from, helping us out out because my grandma, she can't do much anymore. She can't go up and down the stairs all too much anymore. She's slowed down because she's 80 years old now, and I don't think she really likes being bothered with this shit. Me and the rest of my family got really pissed off over this because again, she needs to rest. This is in the middle of the fucking night. She having all this fucking stress and pressure put on her is not good for her health at all. She is constantly stressed and all anxious and freaked out over this because obviously she worries for her son. And having all this pressure on an old lady like that is not fucking good at all. And the thing that frustrates us even more is the fact that he scolds us at times that we overwork her. Oh, we make her go up and down the stairs all too much. We make her do too much, even though me, my other uncle, my mother, the lady who was visiting us, our family member who was visiting us from another country, who came specifically to help us out for a few months, have helped her out. But no, we're the ones overworking her, and yet he's the one who fucking calls the ambulance all the fucking time and forcing her to go to the hospital with them, even though she has arthritis, and it puts all this stress on her, and it's freaking her the fuck out, and obviously she needs her rest. He still fucking makes her do all this shit with him, for him, and he's totally not the one overworking her or any of that shit. It's obviously us that is doing all of that. Fuck off. Me and my family are above and beyond pissed because she went with them for fucking nothing, because again, they told him the same thing. He is fine. It's just anxiety. It's all in his head. And for whatever reason, I guess he doesn't take his anxiety meds when he should, because he thinks, oh, I don't need it. I'm feeling better. I don't need to take meds. That's for weak people, and I'm not weak anymore, so I don't need to take any of this stupid medication anymore. Yes, you fucking do, because obviously when you don't, you freak the fuck out and bother your elderly fucking mother to go to the hospital with you in the middle of the fucking night when she should be sleeping, and she gets tired and she's sleeping right now in her fucking bed. She's all worn out because you forced her to go to the fucking hospital with you for fucking nothing. But no, it's obviously me and the rest of the people who live here who overwork her and make her walk more than she should. And it's him that's the innocent angel. Him that bothers her to go to the hospital with him at like 5 o'clock in the fucking morning, and him that doesn't even help for shit most of the time, and he usually disappears during the weekend when we're all here helping her to go fuck his online girlfriends or whatever the fuck. My grandma recently had a little scare. She got a panic attack as well from all this shit building up. She has a bad cough that she had to get checked out, and they're gonna check if she had like pneumonia or some shit, and she had to wait a few days for the results to come. She's fine, thank God. She doesn't have anything serious. She's just taking medication for the cough she has right now. But still, those few days, those few waiting days were really hard on her. And on top of that one of those days, my fucking uncle had one of his panic attacks, and then he called the ambulance, and then she had to fucking go get ready in the middle of the night to potentially go to the hospital with him, which they didn't, and she ended up having a panic attack over this. An elderly lady, and I'm pretty sure a panic attack for an 80-year-old lady is probably really not good. So again, she has all this unnecessary stress put on her shoulders. And it just bothers me and the rest of the people who live with me. It was so fucking much. Jesus. Anyway, I just really needed to let this out. Yeah. Thanks for listening, I guess, if you made it this far. Usually I don't like talking about family issues on this channel all too much, but goddamn, this is just building up in me. All the anger surrounding this has just been building up in me for so long now that I needed to let it out in video form as opposed to, I don't know, writing an essay on Discord. Sometimes writing about your struggles just isn't enough, at least for me. Anyway, I feel better for now until he probably does this again and makes me angry all over again, and then all the feelings that I've let out in this video, recording this video, I should say, come back and, bother me once again. But for now, I feel better. Anyway, you can move on with your day now, and you're done listening to me bitch about my own problems. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.